The doll looked at Leon and spoke, revealing that the land they stood upon was also contaminated by demonic energy. Leon nodded in agreement, explaining that while demons existed in this world, there was no deity to protect it. He expressed concern that the lowly beings of the Phoenix Guild would insult the divine presence. Damara, the name of the Mother Earth, tells Leon that ignorance and greed cannot always be judged as sins, as those are built-in characteristics of a mortal. Intrigued, the doll asked Leon about his intentions. Leon tells her that it was easy to blend in amongst the swordsmen, but the authority of a conqueror is divine. Hence, he conveyed his desire to lead the people, to teach the ignorant and lead them to the right path. Until a new pantheon arose on Earth. The doll offered her unwavering assistance, always ready to help. Leon began to pray to the goddess, hoping that even if it wasn't her land, she could still heal and purify it for the people. The doll extended her hand, despite it not being the goddess's home, and allowed a drop of her divinity to fall. A radiant beam of light shot toward the sky, illuminating the initially gray plants. To the amazement of Hari, Jin-Soo, and their comrades, the plants started regaining their color. Leon commanded everyone to watch and learn. As this world was blessed with a deity, the rice fields stretched out, now radiantly golden as far as the eye could see. Fertility and prosperity emanated from the land, a testament to the tasks of living beings. Hari and Jin-Soo looked on in disbelief at the transformation. As Leon spoke about the eternal promise of fertile soil, visible annoyance flickered across Yamwan's face. He angrily and frustratedly remarked that they shouldn't be blinded by plants created with magic, deeming them poisoned. Leon retorted that these were plants blessed by a deity and sternly criticized Yamwan for his flippant tongue, warning him not to insult the deity again. Yamwan swallowed his despair, the evidence of his failure apparent on his face. Yamwan's followers were unaware of their leader's failed plan, as Leon's actions had thwarted it. But Yamwan thought to himself that he can't let that happen, and wants to expose Leon's lies. Determined, Yamwan suggested that they first prove that the rice was not poisoned and hoped that Leon would cooperate. An expert evaluator was provided by Yamwan. The expert put on gloves and used magic to examine the rice. Astonishment washed over him as he observed the magical status window, which indicated that the rice was blessed and could completely heal curses. The evaluator, taken aback, announced his findings, that the rice was all rare ranked, and it cures Tier 3 diseases and even cancer. Hari and Jin-Soo were amazed by the revelation. Jin-Soo called for a pot from the chief's house. And with a golden rice field as the backdrop, a small pot stood in the middle, cooking rice. Jin-Soo tasted the rice and was pleasantly surprised. As his stamina and mana regeneration increased, he marveled at how such simple rice could be as powerful as 1,000,000 enhancers. Excitedly, Hari rushed over to Jin-Soo, speaking with food in her mouth. Jin-Soo commanded her to finish eating before talking. And once Hari swallowed the food, she eagerly shared her discovery. She explained that her curiosity led her to eat a beetle. And to everyone's surprise, she gained a buff as well. They concluded that the entire land had been blessed. Jin-Soo ordered his people to gather as much rice and bugs as possible, as they would enter the portal with full buffs. The deity spoke to Leon, expressing that she had fulfilled her task there and needed to return. Leon expressed his gratitude, promising that he would never forget the love and sanctity she had imparted. As a final lesson, she reminded Leon to take care of himself as well. With those words, the doll toppled over, returning to its dormant state. Hari turned to Leon, seeking answers about everything they had just witnessed. Leon explained that it was divine power at work. Leon questioned whether there was no God in their world, but Hari unsure of the concept. Leon clarified that a good life and a good world are made with divine power, urging people to embrace this notion. Now that the soldiers were satiated and at their maximum strength, they were ready to enter the portal. One of Yamwan's followers inquired if it was okay, considering they might interfere with the plan. Youngwon glared angrily at the follower, insulting Leon and claiming that without him, the government would have complied with their demands. Undeterred, Leon, Hari, and Jin-Soo set off towards the portal. Youngwon had an idea, and reassured his follower, asking if anyone had ever entered the portal before and how challenging it was inside. The follower mentioned that the center of the portal was particularly difficult. The follower realized what he was getting at. Among the group, Hari was the only A-rank hunter. Youngwon, viewing Leon as a mere supporter lacking combat experience, sinisterly anticipated the group's defeat, knowing that a true monster lurked within the portal, one that couldn't be defeated by conventional means. Having entered the portal and arrived in the dungeon, our group proceeded cautiously. Jinsu led the way with a shield, while Leon stood behind him in the middle, and Hari positioned slightly ahead. Leon understood that most portals would close once the task or boss inside was completed or defeated. He relished the idea of facing a boss, making Hari unable to tell him it usually required a team battle. Observing the skeletons strewn across the ground, he noted that there seemed to be more monsters than he thought. Hari replies that it was a characteristic of the dungeon. She explained to Leon that while the number of monsters decreases as you defeat them in most gates, in the case of skeletons or zombies, or even special demons in special cases, as long as the boss monster is alive, they'll infinitely respawn. Leon finally understood that it only ends if the boss is defeated. He hinted to her that this must be one of those boss dungeons, which she agrees with. Suddenly, a window materialized in front of Hari, indicating that it was on the verge of shattering, and they now had a time limit of 3 hours. The boss monster would gather its troops. Frozen in place, everyone felt the weight of the impending challenge. Jinsu cursed Yongwan, while Hari appeared somewhat nervous. In contrast, Leon remained unfazed. Their attention was drawn to a hand gripping a knight's helmet, its eyes emitting a haunting blue glow. On a rocky perch, a horse reared up on its hind legs, and thousands of skeletons loomed before the rock. Another window appeared, displaying a countdown of 2 minutes and 58 seconds to defeat the knight on the horse. The skeletons prepared to launch their assault, casting a shadow of doubt and lowering the group's morale. Seeking to boost their spirits, Jinsu attempted to rally the group, emphasizing the need for concentration. A skilled woman armed with a bow activated a skill that allowed her to discern the number of enemy mages and archers, expertly commanding the group. Jinsu directed snipers to eliminate long-range fighters and instructed tanks to block the advancing skeletons. Thousands of skeletons closed in, launching their relentless attacks. Jinsu skillfully blocked their initial strikes, realizing their strength surpassed his expectations. Unyielding, he countered with swift and precise movements, shattering the skeletons with the prowess of a B-rank tank. Amidst the skirmish, Jinsu noticed 2 mages casting spells behind him. Determined to divert their attention, he shouted loudly through the cave, drawing the mages' focus. Magical projectiles flew toward him, causing concern among his comrades, but Jinsu managed to withstand the onslaught. Now, the headless knight stood before Jinsu, emitting an aura of menace. Unfazed, Jinsu locked eyes with the formidable foe. The knight, clad in black armor and surrounded by a blue aura, struck at Jinsu. Although Jinsu barely managed to block the attack, he was forcefully thrown back, landing amidst a pile of rocks. Worry gripped Hari as she witnessed Jinsu's plight. Eager to assist him, a member turned to Hari, seeking guidance on the next move. With no time to wait for reinforcements, they needed to find a solution urgently. Hari approached Leon, hoping for his assistance. However, Leon remained calm, stating that a king doesn't intervene in insignificant battles. Perplexed, Hari struggled to comprehend Leon's words. He suggested that they find ways to build their own honor. Frustrated by Leon's apparent indifference, the group turned to Hari, seeking direction. Although she didn't fully grasp Leon's message, she realized that he had no intention of helping. With time running out, Hari's focus shifted solely to the headless knight. Unsheathing her sword, Hari made up her mind to defeat the boss. Encouraging the rest of the group to support Jinsu, she fearlessly charged forward, cutting through the ranks of skeletons. She used a skeleton's head as a springboard, propelling herself higher, matching the level of the headless knight. Hari unleashed a powerful strike, aiming for the knight, but he deftly parried her attack with his great sword. Despite her disappointment, Hari understood the importance of separating him from the group. To her surprise, she noticed that the knight had discarded his head and was preparing to launch a devastating attack with his fist. Hari braced herself, attempting to block, but the impact sent her flying backward. Determined, she quickly regained her composure, only to find the headless knight standing before her once again. She had partially achieved her goal of separation. Apologizing to her comrades, Hari's range of skills were too large. Suddenly, a colossal explosion engulfed everything in sight. Yet, the knight managed to block it effortlessly. Unyielding, Hari launched another attack, driven to end the battle. Meanwhile, the knight blocked each strike, seemingly unscathed. Observing the knight's blade block the blunt of her attack, Hari notices the stance the knight was taking. As it swings its blade towards him, she closes her attacks just as the attack reaches her. But a voice interrupts the fight, shouting impressive. Leon stepped forward clapping his hands, apologizing to the headless knight for underestimating him as a mere undead creature. Extending a noble gesture, Leon offered the knight the opportunity to engage in an honorable and noble duel. Leon walks towards Hari and the Death Knight, saying there was no need for more troops to be injured. Let us end this fight with a noble duel between two knights. Leon shouted with pride. Hari, Jin-Su, and even a skeleton in their midst couldn't believe their eyes, wearing expressions of astonishment. The headless knight remained silent at first, but ultimately accepted the challenge. The skeletons lurking in the cave took a sudden interest in the captivating showdown between Leon and the headless knight. They approached slowly, their hollow eye sockets observing the unfolding duel with utmost attention. Leon, standing confidently before the formidable foe, spoke with a mixture of arrogance and respect. He summoned his sword, its gleaming blade catching the faint light, and issued a command to the headless knight to remove his helmet. The knight remained silent, his intentions veiled behind the armor. Leon confidently stated that he was certain the knight fought with a two-handed sword, which put him at a disadvantage. With unwavering determination, Leon enveloped his sword with a vibrant yellow aura, a manifestation of his skill and power. Hari, sensing an imminent clash, approached Leon and informed him that the headless knight would not be defeated unless he was decapitated. Leon, unfazed, asked if that detail was crucial to their victory. Frozen in astonishment, Hari replied that it was indeed important. She wondered how Leon planned to emerge victorious if he couldn't execute the decisive blow. The headless knight, realizing the significance of their conversation, handed his head to one of the skeletons serving him. Leon, taking a moment to explain his perspective to Hari, emphasized that the outcome of the duel would be determined by the knight's sense of honor. Leon and the headless knight assumed their respective starting positions, their focus unwavering. Leon spoke his name aloud, expecting a reciprocal introduction from the knight, but the knight remained silent. As soon as Leon announced the beginning of the duel and finished uttering his own name, the headless knight grasped his sword with certainty and charged forward, unleashing a powerful attack. However, to Leon's nonchalant surprise, he effortlessly blocked the strike, his skills far surpassing the knight's. Leon keenly observed the knight's movements, almost seeing through his intentions. With swift precision, he parried the attack, redirected its trajectory, and lightly touched the headless knight. Leon counted, 1. Readying his sword again, Leon pointed it directly at the headless knight, his voice resonating with determination. Following his self-imposed motto, he declared, "The second round begins now." The headless knight, undeterred, raised his sword, positioning himself once more for a formidable assault. Hari and Jin-Su, observing the intense clash, grew increasingly worried about Leon's safety. Leon, ever the discerning critic, criticized the flawed footwork of the headless knight and swiftly brought him down. Jin-Su and the rest of the group could hardly believe their eyes, their faces reflecting a mix of astonishment and bewilderment. Hari found the turn of events nearly unbelievable. Jin-Su turned to Hari, seeking confirmation of what had just transpired. Hari, her voice filled with awe, explained that Leon had deftly altered the trajectory of the headless knight's sword at the precise moment their blades made contact, executing a daring crosscut. A maneuver that few would ever attempt. Undeterred by his defeat, the headless knight stood up again, his determination unyielding. Leon, displaying a mix of admiration and amusement, lightly touched him with the tip of his sword for the second time, once again counting the strike. 2. Leon instructed the headless knight to return to his starting position, acknowledging his opponent's resilience. The duel between Leon and the headless knight continued. Each clash of their blades a testament to their skill and unwavering resolve. The headless knight launched another assault, but Leon, maintaining an unwavering posture of honor and grandeur, accepted each attack with poise, expertly blocking and countering with ease. Leon, with a flick of his wrist, tossed aside the headless knight's sword and lightly touched him for the third time. Leon asked the knight if he wished to continue, offering him a chance to honorably yield. The headless knight, who preferred to fight as a knight rather than rely on magic, charged at Leon once more, launching a relentless series of attacks. However, Leon effortlessly parried each strike, his movements flowing with a grace that belied the knight's raw power. Leon didn't even need to exert himself, while the headless knight grew increasingly fatigued. Just before Leon touched him for the 10th time, he skillfully disarmed the knight, flinging his sword away. Leon commended the knight, acknowledging the improvement in his swordsmanship, and asked if he was starting to regain his memories from his past life. Affirming Leon's inquiry, The headless knight expressed his desire to continue the duel. He called upon one of his loyal skeletons, which held his detached head, and lifted it up, indulging in a moment of reminiscence about his past. He pondered how long he had fought without honor, lamenting the wasted years. The headless knight, filled with newfound purpose, declared that ending his life in this honorable manner would bring him joy. He lifted his head and offered it to Leon as a symbol of their duel's significance. Leon, filled with a mix of joy and respect, accepted the once headless knight's gesture. Placing his hand on the knight's head, he offered a prayer, a gentle plea for solace and rest. A bright light illuminated the cave, its radiant glow emanating from the knight and spreading throughout. Leon expressed his wish that if the knight had a god, that deity would grant his soul respite. And if no god accompanied him, Leon hoped that a benevolent force would guide him to the end of his journey. Leon expressed his desire to reunite with the knight again someday, perhaps at a festival in the halls of the gods. The light grew larger, enveloping the knight's helmet and armor, which dissolved into nothingness as the Death Knight lets out one final prayer, "Let glory lie with Leon Dragonia Lionheart." As the brilliance faded, the group found themselves back in the familiar surroundings of the rice fields. Hari, full of admiration, informed Jin-Soo that Leon had indeed kept his promise, resolving the matter through a duel. They pondered the nature of the magic Leon had displayed, its intricacies and origins. Hari remarked that Leon should have used that remarkable ability earlier in the battle. Overhearing their conversation, Leon explained that if he had done so, the headless knight would have perished as a necromancer. Hari greeted Leon, appreciating his wisdom and adherence to the principles of honor. Leon continued to elaborate, emphasizing that a true knight lives for honor, and honor is born from deeds. Deeds can only happen when one possesses the will to undertake them. The headless knight, in the end, received what he deserved, an honorable defeat that restored his lost honor. Leon wondered aloud about the whereabouts of the knight's loot, shifting the focus to their next objective. Hari, Jin-Soo, and Leon inspected the spoils of the duel, the knight's sword, a cloak, and a mysterious purple ball radiating with a vibrant violet aura. Hari and Jin-Soo were surprised to see the loot, where else Leon remained unimpressed. Leon immediately noticed the ball's significance and, much to Jin-Soo's dismay, destroyed it without hesitation. Everyone was stunned to what had just happened. Leon tells them that such items only brought chaos and destruction, harboring powers best left unutilized. Thus concluded chapters 1 to 6 of The Night King's Return, an epic tale intertwining mortals and gods, honor and redemption.